Hello, Jeff from Wiesbaden again. Probably going to be my last video this morning. I'm just toying around with this, um, trying to give you an idea of my perspective, one man's opinion. Um, I was talking about traffic earlier. Uh, you can't make a right turn on red here. That's a hard habit to break. Another thing is, in the United States, they typically have traffic lights high above the intersection on the other side so you can very clearly see. In Germany, they don't do that. Usually, your traffic light is right at the crosswalk. And in the United States, people have a tendency to pull forward. Well, if you do that here, you can't see the traffic light. You're also going to be in the crosswalk. And pedestrians don't like that. Pedestrians rule over here. It's not like in the United States where the pedestrians have to watch out for the cars. Cars have to watch out for the pedestrians. You also have buses. You have a lot of people on bikes, scooters. They even have the electric scooters. And oftentimes they have separate lanes for them. The buses even have separate traffic lights. So it does take some getting used to. You have to sit back a little bit so you can see the light. At night, a lot of times after 10 o'clock at night, they shut the traffic lights off on the main street, but then the side street will have a blinking yellow. It's the opposite of the United States. In the States, when the lights are off at night and your light blinks yellow, you proceed right on through the right of way. You proceed with caution. In Germany, the main street, the light will be off. They have the right of way, and then the side street is blinking yellow. So you have to yield. You have to come almost to a stop, and you have to yield for any other traffic before you can go. You can't blow through it like you do in the States. That takes some getting used to. There are very, very few intersections where they have a protected left turn. So a lot of times the light will turn green, and if you're trying to make a left turn, it gets really dicey because you end up with people caught in the intersection and the light changes. There are some places it's just poor planning and poor layout, but in Wiesbaden, it's a very old city which predates the automobile by 200 or 300 years. Most places in the United States were built up after the automobile. So in Germany, it's a little different. That's why people have to park on the sidewalk, or you park with two wheels up on the sidewalk. When we had our flat, we didn't have a reserved parking space. I sometimes had to park 3 blocks away. And so many times if I dropped my wife off at work, I'd have to go pick her up, and then I'd come back, and then somebody else takes the on-street parking. Well, there you go. You're hunting around looking for a parking spot. From what Germans have told me and other Americans here, there's a German, I think they call them the Green Party. They're very anti-automobile, and they're trying to make life so unpleasant that nobody owns or drives a car. Well, that's foolish. That's never going to happen. But a lot of people will use their car on weekend. They'll use a mass transit to go to work, but you still have people with cars who just park them longer. They don't drive them as much, but they still have to park somewhere. That's an issue they're going to have to figure out for themselves, but you're never going to get rid of the automobile. People are still going to want to have a car to go places when and where mass transit doesn't go. But as far as the mass transit system here, it's very good. I've used it a couple times, and the buses are super quiet, super clean. I mean, they run like clockwork, and they have digital signs at every bus station that tell you which number of the bus is coming, where it's going, and how many minutes away it is. And most bus stops have a covered area if it's raining. They really got that right. And you can, if you want to go to Mainz, you can take a bus to the Hauptbahnhof, which is the train and bus station downtown, and catch a train over to Mainz. It would cost you $3.20 one way, or you buy an all-day ticket for $6.40. And you can go over and you can ride on any of the bus, trains, or the streetcar, which is called a Straßenbahn. They don't have them in Wiesbaden, but they have them in Mainz. It's considered the RMV is the name of the transit company. It takes some getting used to, and if you go and you want to buy a ticket, they have different languages at the kiosk where you put your money in to get the ticket. I was freaking out because I couldn't find anything in English. They have little flags on there, and I didn't see the American flag. And after a minute of standing there going, duh, I saw they had a British flag. Well, that's English. There are probably more British people here than there are Americans, but nevertheless, they had Italian, Polish, Russian, Ukrainian, I don't know, maybe Norwegian or something on there, but they had the little push the British flag, and it had the instructions in English. And some ATMs have that too. When you go to get money out, you go to get cash out. Germany, most of the buildings, I said, they're apartments. They do have single family homes. It just doesn't seem like there's as many as there are in the States. But a lot of these places have stairwell apartments, and they're not very big, but these buildings sure look to be very, very well constructed. I mean, you can't beat the Germans for their engineering anyway. So I'm going to sign off for now. This is just experimental for me, and maybe I'll put something up in the future. I don't know. I'll see how it goes. But like I said, I apologize if I bored anybody to death. I've got a face for radio and a voice fit to print. But one more thing, as far as restaurants, German food is very, very good. The schnitzel, which is pork. Think of a pork chop breaded. That's the best way to put it. They make it different ways, but it's really good. And they make a schnitzel with veal, which is a type of beef, and that's pretty good too. When you get fries, they call them pommes, Pommes. When you get fries here, I kept wondering why the German fries are so good. They don't really load them down with salt. I don't know what they cook them in, but they don't have to put a ton of salt on them to have good flavor. And a lot of restaurants will serve the fries instead of flat out on a plate. They will serve them in, it looks like a beer mug or a cup of some kind. Sometimes it'll be a metal, like a really tall, narrow bowl. And you get them and they're hot. And then while you're eating them, they stay hot. It's like, why didn't they think of this in the States? But the German fries, oh, they're awesome. Pretzels are good. The pizza I have had here has been okay. It's not as good as New York style or Chicago deep dish. But their pizza here, it's very thin crust. It's probably a lot healthier than American pizza, but I have not found anywhere yet that has a stromboli. You can get a calzone. A lot of places have decent subs, but I have not seen a stromboli yet, and I'm really jonesing for one. Used to love those strombolis back in the States, especially if you get a place where it's Italians from New York. They make the best strombolis anywhere. All right, I've bored you enough. I'm going to sign off and just want to give a belated Veterans Day shout out to anybody who served in the military, regardless of branch, regardless of component, or regardless of era. This old soldier from back in the 80s gives you all a salute and a thumbs up.